Yo, what is up everybody? It is your Undead Strix here, back at it again with another video. Alright, as y'all can see, today's video is going to be part 2 of What If Naruto Was Reighley's Reincarnation. I hope y'all enjoyed part 1, and I hope that y'all enjoyed part 2. If you do, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if y'all are new and this is your first video seeing from me. If this is, go check out part 1 before y'all watch this part so you don't get spoiled for any of the things that I will be saying in this part. And if y'all want to, go join my YouTube membership, which will be linked in the description, and join the Discord, which will also be down there. But with all of that said, I hope that y'all do enjoy my content and my videos in general. But with all of that said, let's get into the video.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
Around 3 to 4 years would have passed, and Naruto, around the age of 11 or 12, is finally ready to go out and leave the Genin Academy. He has been waiting all of this time just because he knew that no one else that he would be able to train with would be on his level, and he also wanted to be with Kakashi, but he knew he needed a team of 3, so he wanted to choose the best team of 3, or at least have the chance to become with the best team that was possible. This being any of the, honestly, Konoha 11, any of those would have been good for him. He might not have liked all of them, but most of them could have been at least decent and sustainable partners, sustainable teammates. As it's his last day in the academy, and Naruto doesn't even really have to do anything specifically relating to taking the test to graduate, because everyone, at least especially the teachers, know that Naruto was ready to do everything. They knew that he was ready to graduate long ago. He could have graduated early if he wanted to. It was his choice just to stay around and not do it. Everyone knows that Dry has still been training Naruto throughout this entire time. Still training him anytime that he comes back into the villages often, but most of the time Naruto's just staying with the Nara family, since at this point he had become quite literally like a second family member to them. He had become just someone that they all cared a great amount about, and since Jiraiya wasn't always there and they were taking care of him, Naruto's intelligence level had grown extremely. Him staying with them for so long gave him the fact that Shikamaru was like a brother to him. They were like family, so he had gained some of Shikamaru's intelligence. He had gained some of the awareness that he had, and his observation and his sensory had grown extremely, training with all of the different people that he could train with in the Nara household, training with Shikamaru, and gaining a strategy on how to deal with Shikamaru's just shadow possession. Being able to tell where the shadows were going to go, training his observation hockey like that, and then training his armament just by going into the woods and kind of sparring with some of the animals and livestock around there. He knows it's not really sustainable, since yes, he is strong, but eventually at this point he's just getting too strong for most of the animals. His hits will one-shot some of the animals even at this young age that he's at right now, as he's gained a lot of popularity over this time. Him being Reighley's reincarnation, you know that he looks amazing. And so his looks are amazing to everyone else. Sasuke obviously still has the girls that he normally does, but the girls don't just hate Naruto, since he's usually calm and collected. He's usually more like Shikamaru, where he'll talk when he needs to talk. He'll be quiet for most of the time, but if he needs to, he'll make you laugh. He will get serious in times of need, but he's never actively pissing anyone off. He's always doing exactly what he needs to be doing and never doing anything more than that. Mitsuki wouldn't even try getting him to do that dumb thing about stealing the scrolls, because the scrolls wouldn't matter to Naruto. He knows almost everything in there, since most of the things in there Jiraiya had already known about. He'd lived and seen most of them in action, and a good few of them were made by the fourth Hokage, or at least mastered by them, and Minato was someone that he worked with tremendously, so he knew most of the moves that Minato could already do. So he wasn't worried about that, and the only thing that Naruto did have to practice with was the chakra chains that he had developed during the past few years. It was an Uzumaki trait, but there are no Uzumakis left to actually teach him how to use them, to train him on how to actually control them and do anything like that. Especially due to the fact that since Jiraiya knows that he has the Nine Tails in him and the chakra chains would help a lot, he's just trying to get Naruto to learn how to use them so he can actually master the QB what's inside of him so much quicker, so much faster, because chakra chains are a big buff to him, a big boost on his strength levels and everything that he could possibly be doing with them. So that's the main thing that he wants to learn how to use, as he's getting pretty decent with them since he's used them for the most part. But he still hasn't been able to unlock Hankurasaki. Obviously, he doesn't know what that is, but that's just something that he's going to unlock pretty soon, but not to the highest extents, as it would be that last day still, and they would just tell them to leave, go home, and come back tomorrow early so they can get sorted into their teams that they will be with and meet the captains of their squads. So they would come back the next day and they would all be sorted into kind of the same squads, but the one major difference would be Team 7. Everyone in the village would have known Naruto's relationship with the Naras, so they didn't bother him anymore, or at least as much, because they knew his relationship with Jiraiya and the Naras. They knew that Naruto was protected now. They couldn't do the same thing that they used to do when he was a small kid, especially since he's gotten extremely strong. So they knew that they can't bother him. And so a main thing that they did was, this time, they made a weird, just a fusion of a few teams. This time it would have been Naruto and Shikamaru on the same team with Sakura, just to balance a few things out, because their team chemistry was already amazing. It was already perfect. There was nothing that they needed to work on. They were already pitch perfect in sync with each other when it came to thinking. Naruto's IQ matched Shikamaru's, because Naruto was just able to just get things extremely quick, and the fact of his observation hockey and his sensory skills outmatched everybody around him. Nobody near him could ever match to his observational skills, especially when he was going into his full power, which he normally never has to do unless he's like battling Shikamaru full out, because Shikamaru has gained a significant power buff right now. His strength rivals what he's at during Shippuden, strictly because Naruto makes sure to push Shikamaru to his extent, to his brink, just because he knows Shikamaru was capable of doing a lot. Shikamaru just never bothers to train enough. So that's the one thing that he's trying to get him to do. Train harder, train more, so he can get stronger, do a lot more, and train his body to the max. Shikamaru obviously still never completely trains at the extent that Naruto does, but him training just a bit more increases his strength level dramatically. And Sakura's just there to have still a female, but Sasuke is either going to be put on another team or put with their team and make it like a kind of 4-man team, just because Sasuke, well, no, he would be put onto another team, yeah, just because I don't feel like dealing with that. I thought about it, but like, I don't feel like having to explain to y'all specifically why I'm making like a 4-man team. But just tell me which team y'all want Sasuke to be on. And Sasuke would have been annoyed that he wasn't on Naruto's team, since he had grown to respect Naruto in a way. Naruto was just as good as he was, and he had even a kind of harsher upbringing until the point of he left, but he at least understood that Naruto was always alone for a good long while, at least longer than Sasuke had ever been. That 4 years is around the same time that Naruto was, but he still had to deal with a long while of being alone and just being tormented by the villagers, which Sasuke could still vividly remember. He would walk around seeing Naruto beaten and bruised, but this kid that he knows now is not that kid from years ago. It is not the same person, it's not the same kid, so he's at least grown to understand that this kid has grown just dramatically. But just tell me what team you want Sasuke to be on. Tell me all the members of his team. And so Kakashi would come through the door a little late, as Naruto would just be like, I'm guessing you're Kakashi? As Kakashi's like, yeah, how'd you know? Naruto just being like, Jiraiya's told me about you. I wanted you to be my captain for this team, specifically because I at least know your upbringing. I've heard a lot about your story in my passages around the different kingdoms and everything like that, so I thought that you might be the best person to actually train me. I heard you're strong, I heard you could do a lot, so why not? As Kakashi would still be like, alright, everybody go over to the roof, we're gonna be talking about something. As Naruto would just go to the window since he doesn't feel like taking the long way around. Shikamaru would do the exact same thing, and they would just both wall walk to the roof just because they didn't feel like dealing with all that BS about taking stairs is too much of a drag, which they both have grown that persona, but Naruto's just more active when he comes to doing everything else. So Kakashi is shocked that both of these kids already know how to wall walk, and they both know how to water walk too. They've been trained by Jiraiya, and he's been teaching them a lot about chakra control and teaching them all about different things, so they are way stronger. So everybody eventually gets up, and Kakashi's just like, y'all know how to wall walk? That's surprising. Naruto just says, not really. Jiraiya's taught us a good bit about a lot of different things. We know how to water walk, we know our chakra natures, and we know at least a few jutsus that will work for at least our specialties. And like Shikamaru's just like, yeah, and I've already learned a few jutsus from my shadow possession and everything like that. And Kakashi just surprised because these kids are way stronger than what Genin are supposed to be. Naruto's like just base strength without using anything is still extraordinary, and he's just listening to this, just shocked about all of the things that he's hearing. And he just go on and just ask, okay, I just want to know what your goals are, what's your likes, dislikes, and everything like that. Naruto would go first, and Naruto would just say, I want to become the Hokage of a village. I want to become either the Hokage of this village, or maybe eventually set out on my own and create my own, somewhere that could be peaceful, or at least I just want to be left alone. Either one of those works. I would like to be the Hokage of this village, just to prove to everyone that just because I'm the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. Doesn't mean that I am dangerous. I could be a very good help to the Leaf. It's my home, so what's the point of not doing anything about it? Or just be left alone, be traveling like Jiraiya does, and just set out on a path to be just a completely free man. Not to do anything, not do too much, just be me, be whatever I want to see and whatever I want to be. As Kakashi's like, those are very two different opinions, like very two contradictory thoughts. As Naruto's like, yeah, but either way, means the exact same thing to me. Either way, I'll either be free or respected, and that's the only thing that I really care about. As Shikamaru's just like, I just want to go where Naruto goes. He has always been there for me, and I've always been there for him, so whatever he decides to do, if he becomes Hokage, I'll always be there to help him out. If he decides to be free, go wherever he wants to go, I'll follow him. Brothers gotta stick together, you know. As like Kakashi's like, but you're not brothers. And Shikamaru says, yes, we're not brothers by blood, but we spent so much time together in the last 4 years since he's been back. He's lived with us, and so that's basically what he is. He's already considered it like honorary Nara clan member, so what else would you consider him besides a family member? As Kakashi's like, yeah, that makes sense. As Sakura's just like going off about the exact same BS. Just going like, oh, I just want to like marry Sasuke, maybe marry Naruto. They both are very cute and everything like that. And Naruto and Shikamaru would just be looking at Sakura, putting their hands on their faces and just going like, is this really the person we got stuck with? We couldn't have gotten anybody else. We couldn't have gotten anybody else. Like, really? Like, come on. We both have actual goals. Shikamaru just said the basic one because we already agreed that we're going to stick to each other, but he has his own goals. That's Kakashi's like, why don't you say the other ones? Shikamaru. As Shikamaru's like, that's too much of a drag. I prefer not to. As Naruto's like, that's why he didn't say the other ones. And I knew that would be his answer. As they would be told that tomorrow they're gonna have to meet him in a specific place, so they could on a training ground, so they could do a test, so they could actually prove that they're worthy of becoming like Genin. As Naruto and Shikamaru would leave and go home for the night, getting up early the next day and going straight to the training field. They would be there at the time Kakashi said, but he would show up extremely late. Naruto didn't really care since he had just went right back to sleep, chilled out for the most part, and eventually once Kakashi had gotten there, Naruto woke up right before Kakashi got there since he could sense that someone was approaching even in his deep sleep. As he just woke Shikamaru up too, which Shikamaru had fallen asleep, and Sakura would have just gotten there. In this timeline, she would have woken up late. She would have rushed straight there, hoping that the test wouldn't have been over, but she would have made it there just about like 15 minutes before Kakashi would have actually even shown up, before he would have actually even scouted the place around or did anything like that. So he wouldn't have even noticed that she was late, but either way, for Naruto and Shikamaru, they were kind of just a little more annoyed that she didn't even have the decency to show up on time. They had the specific time to show up. Yes, Kakashi was late, but they didn't really care that the teachers was late. They had a time to show up, and she couldn't at least stick to that. They're just like losing more and more respect for her. As once Kakashi would show up, he would just say, the aim of this goal is just to get these bells away from me. As Naruto's just like, okay, is that it? As Naruto's just like, also, are we allowed to try to kill you? As Shikamaru starts laughing, and Kakashi does the exact same thing, and Kakashi's like, if you can, go right ahead. I highly doubt that any of you were even strong enough to do anything to me, but if you're being this cocky already, I want to see what's about to happen. As Naruto and Shikamaru in unison would both just rush straight to Kakashi, working perfectly together in unison, going teamwork galore, like making sure to work together in unison to try doing everything. Naruto's using more strength than he usually does, and Shikamaru's doing around the same thing. When he's in the fighting mode, he actually goes completely all out. It's only when he's in any other type of thing that he is usually just completely chilling and not doing much. But when he's actively fighting, the only thing that he cares about is winning that fight. He's gained that kind of personality from hanging out with Naruto so much. So he's not really like holding back at all, and they're both going as all out as they can because Naruto's heard about Kakashi. He knows how strong Kakashi is. Within like seconds, Kakashi would have had to put the book away, and Naruto knew what book it was. He wasn't able to read it since he was still so young, but Jiraiya had told him a lot about making a few more books, so Naruto was just laughing, and Kakashi would just be like, why are you laughing? As Naruto's like, the book that you're reading, my old man is the one that made it. As Kakashi just like laughing about, you mean Jiraiya? As Naruto's like, yeah, he might not be my father, my biological father, but he's raised me perfectly, so what else could I call him? As Kakashi's like, yeah, you're right. And Naruto's just like, I haven't been able to read it myself yet. Jiraiya says I'm still too young, but oh well. But Kakashi would have been like, you already made me put the book away. You are way stronger than I expected you to be. And Naruto says, yeah, I'm not going completely all out yet, but that is where I'm going to be leaving the part off. If y'all did enjoy this part, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and hit that notification bell so you can get caught up with all my other videos. If y'all do like my content, please put it down in the comments and put down any of the things that I asked y'all to put down in the comments. But with all of that said, hope that y'all enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next vid. Peace.